Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fintech Focus TV with me, Toby. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Tim Walpole. Tim, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Listen, great to have you on the show. You are the head of creative technology at SPARCK. It is I guess there couldn't be a more relevant and important area for you to be talking about at the moment than innovation. We're in a time of rapid innovation, rapid evolution of the world of technology and everything in between. And that's what we're going to focus in on today's show, real focus on innovation. You as an expert in that, tell us a little bit about SPARCK, tell us a little bit about what you're doing and your story so far, if you'd be so kind.
Sure. So, yeah, as you say, Tim Walpole, head of creative technology for SPARCK. SPARCK is the strategic design part of a larger company called BGSS. BGSS has been around for 26 years now, and at its heart, it's an IT consultancy business. And I joined them about 4 years ago as a senior developer, spun up the mobile team. And this is before we then had our strategic design part of the business, before we had our UX design. And so we built out, with Simon Sear, we built out SPARCK. And SPARCK, as I said, was that strategic design part. But I stayed in with BGSS on development. So development is my thing, technology. And I've always been that type of person that says, particularly if someone asks me a question saying, I want to do this, and everyone says no, well, there has to be a way to do it. There's always a way to do it, something. And it's how do you find that technology that allows you to do something rapidly, to innovate on something that is not necessarily what people think can be done. So within BGSS, after the mobile team, ended up working as part of the AI team and then as head of innovation, looking at that part that says, how do we rapidly innovate? How do we use technologies of today to be able to innovate? And moving to SPARCK has been about actually SPARCK, the creative part of the company, BGSS, the technology part of the company. How do we match some of that together? Because today's world is all about user-centric design and services. So being able to start with the user's needs, being able to turn those into a technology, to be able to experiment really early with user-centric design, with A/B testing of designs maybe, and to turn that into a technology, and then use BGSS as that rich engineering to be able to deliver those services. So pretty much story for the past 4 years.
It's a rapid 4 years worth of worth of journey right there. Look, I think it's a really interesting space that you're in there, because as we said at the head of the show, innovation is on everyone's lips right now. We're having to evolve very, very quickly. Everyone wants to win that race. Everyone wants to innovate. Everyone wants to to pivot in some instance, which has become a word you either love or hate in this sort of time. And there's pivoting that's been sort of knee-jerk, and there's pivoting that's been real sensible sort of stuff, based on, as you say, the tech that's out there. I think it's a really interesting thing you say there about the importance of user-centric design and how important that's been. And it's interesting how that probably hasn't driven tech for quite some years, and how that's become central to growth, particularly in the fintech space, but everywhere in between. With regards to the show's premise being about taking the negative of the situation and providing real opportunities and turning negatives to positives, tell us a little bit about where you see real opportunities through this, and how can we really prosper from this time, which I think is our responsibility as humanity.
I mean, it's kind of interesting how things have accelerated. So the past 3 months, if we look at even just things like online retail. So online retail has accelerated 6 years forward in 3 months. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, and that's one of the challenges. So we may be actually going into a direction we don't want because we're not thinking about it.
We've spoken a couple of times on this about the humanitarian aspects, and it's got quite deep at various different stages for a tech show. But even driving up this morning, I think there's an important aspect here for us to learn and move forward from everything that's been happening. There's been a good pause point, and my big concern at the moment is all this innovation suddenly scales back once everyone gets to BAU. And I'm really work on that in my business, and I think every other business needs to look at the same thing. You look at, I was driving up this morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and drove through Clapham, and the fields are absolutely strewn with rubbish. So people have been out on there, and it's completely it's litter everywhere. The beaches, we're seeing the instances, the hottest day of the year yesterday when we're filming this, and the beaches in Bournemouth absolutely packed. And again, just people showing no disregard. And there was this whole movement for let's be better. We're in this together at the start of it, and very quickly that's when it's a hot day, it gets completely forgotten. And I see that as a similar sort of vision to what we can see from tech. Huge digital innovation, everyone embraces it. Cloud technology gives everyone the opportunity to do their jobs more productively, better, more efficiently. Then all of a sudden, life gets back to normal. COVID passes, which it will do at some sort of stage, as we know, and everything just goes back to the norm, and we lose all the momentum and skill from that. How do we avoid that?
I think it's actually about part of how we're working now. We are having a complete change in work and the way we work, and we're having to do that because potentially the budgets and things are no longer there to be able to say, I'm going to do massive digital transformation programs. So I've been doing some work with some clients recently around that massive digital transformation, and that scaled right back. But we're now doing things in a very different way, which makes it much more leaner, makes the ability for us to do and test and validate experiences. And we're doing that potentially using online services rather than large transformation programs in offices. How do we maintain it in the future? I think we maintain it in the future by the vision that if things are small, we do smaller programs to experiment and test and validate rather than but they still are under that overarching bigger transformation program. But quite often what was the problem with those big programs is they're so big, they take so long to deliver.
Yeah.
It's much more about how do I go in? How do I look at a particular part of the business? How do I say to them, look, I can look at that, and in a really small amount of time, I can release value to the organization, but still under that bigger transformation program. And I think that's what people are having to think about now, because it says in this COVID world, I need to be able to release value back to the organization, and I need to do it in the next month. Yeah. Now, whether that is just about joining two things up or to be about to do something more efficiently. But if you can release that value on a smaller basis, and we can get used to doing that, then I don't think it'll change. Of course, you still need to make the grown-ups understand that. Yeah. And I guess that's the bigger challenge. It's not just about technology. It's about that whole vision about how to release value into an organization using change and being innovative and doing it in a rapid cycle that allows it to do on a almost weekly or two weekly basis.
And this is sort of iterative improvement. It's the essential part of Kaizen, isn't it? We, as a business, one of our founding values is Kaizen. I think it's one of the most fascinating principles of, dating all the way back to Toyota. But what you're effectively saying is, change programs are a series of iterative improvements, right? Looking at where you can have value, and rapid innovation. If I'm not paraphrasing you, apologies. But rapid innovation is about picking the right sort of areas where you can have impact and showing that progress all the way through it. Is that fair?
Agreed. Yeah. It's that rapid innovation, and that comes through from understanding the user needs, understanding the pain points, and being able to say, look, I can take that pain point and I can throw it around a bit. And this is, I guess, the difference. And it comes back to some of my beginning statements. Looking at things in a different way. If the normal approach is, well, by the way, I do this and it's this great big thing. Or is it actually, well, if I do it this way, it can be this small and I get the same effect.
Yeah.
So I did a piece of work a few years ago, and it was to take some payments. So to be able to take digital payments off that paper, and there was no reference number on that paper. So I went in, and the previous company that had looked at it and said, fine, well, we can change the process. £2 million, because it's massive. It's a massive rollout. It's part of a whole platform that we need to deliver and everything. And it was, well, why can't we scan that piece of paper in using some clever technology on a phone, scan the relevant fields, turn it into a 7-digit reference number and give it to the person to pay?
Yeah.
We deliver that solution for 1/10 of the price.
Yeah.
About that whole change program to deliver the same technology, but using a different way of thinking.
That different way of thinking, I think, is really important, isn't it? And look, it's head of creative technology is an interesting title, isn't it? We've got so many titles that are rolling out there at the moment. Because it could be argued that all technology is creative, right? There's things there that in a world of rapid evolution of technology and so many different things coming out all the time. Talk to me a little bit about that and the title. What do you deem creative technology, and what makes it creative?
So this comes very much from the fact that SPARCK is user-centric delivery.
Yeah.
So it's so yes, technology is creative. We design things, we design technology, we put together things with great big architectures, but it's to be able to say, actually, I want to start thinking about this very much on the user side to start with. So I want to start thinking about the user designs, the user work, how it works together, and make it very, very much user-centric. Quite often when you go into big organizations, they're more worried about, or they jump quite easily to the technology to be able to deliver it. Hey, it's great, let's put some RPA on it, let's put some AI into this, or we'll link it up with Active Directory, or move it into the cloud. Well, what about the user problem? What is the actual problem? And you start with that, and being able to say, fine, let's use some technology to answer those users' needs. And yes, that may well be we put it into the cloud, or we may do this, or it might be I give you a mobile app that just allows you to scan those 2 digits and give you a code. It's very much a different vision about how you deliver stuff. Being able to tie that into good technology practice is one of the hard challenges. How do I start with an organization that does lots of things in a user-centric way? And it's sometimes very easy to make that too big. Here's this vision, this great big vision of what we can deliver. And then there's the constraints of how do we use the technology. So it's trying to tie those 2 things together, dovetail 2 things together to say, how do you do a user-centric technology deliver in a way that you can start very much user-centric and then deliver into technology? Experiment with both the designs and the technology, such that when you then get past that proof of concept into that MVP, you don't want to rewrite it all and start again.
Yeah.
So how am I very clever in being able to do that, to experiment, to produce the proof of concept, both at design and technology, and then roll it into the MVP and then the scale into production for whatever the services you might need.
User-centric is a word that you've used throughout this, and I think it's one of the most important parts, as we said before, about how tech's used. One of my bugbears has long been how tech founders in particular are solving or creating very, very clever technology to solve problems that people don't really have. And this user-centric piece is critical to this. What sort of people and what sort of problems are you solving for them?
It can be absolutely anything. It might be, look, I'm replacing an old style database with something new. What's the new way of doing it? How do I need to do that? It might be I'm taking some forms off a website that the process is just awful, to be able to say, how do I do that in a better way? Or even thinking about, one of the things I'm really passionate is AI and voice. And I think this will probably resonate with lots of your listeners. Is quite a lot of us have probably got one of those awful Alexa devices, or Google devices, or Siri's, or whichever device you may have. They're a technology device that doesn't necessarily actually produce what we want as users. So yeah, they might be good at turning their lights on and things like that. But I want to take, and this is one of the things that I want to be able to do, is I want to take the technology that's available for things like that and use it for real good. So think about there's people out there we can use such devices for to change their lives. I'm potentially thinking about people with Alzheimer's, people with dementia. That screen potentially could be a lifeline, but you need to be able to change it in a way that's really usable.
Yeah.
So there's one thing about Alzheimer's, for instance, that to be able to have memories played back to you.
Yeah.
Memories stay in there and they can be provoked. And by provoking those memories, they make you think about things and remember things, which allows you to act in a better way. Or those people potentially with dementia, you need to allow them to stay in their own homes for longer before you have to get them that extra care they may need. Potentially with an aging elderly population, more and more people are going to need care. So how do I use the technology today? And it's some of the stuff I've been starting to experiment with, such that if you can use that Alexa device and you can use cameras in your house, you can understand that actually Mary got out of bed a little late today. Was she all right? So, hi, Mary, I understand you got out of bed today a little late. How are you feeling? Or even that question, how are you feeling? With, oh, I'm not feeling so well today. Why is that? Oh, well, it's raining outside. I haven't been able to go out. That interaction with an Alexa of the future may then actually be able to prompt something back to the family saying, just to let you know, your mum's not feeling well today.
Yeah.
So rather than Mary sitting in a chair, actually feeling so unhappy, her daughter or son know that she's unhappy and give her that little phone call saying, oh, it's horrible weather today, isn't it?
Yeah. And this sort of evolves the AI debate from the battle of the robots to AI for social good, right?
AI for, yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And I think social good, it's a challenge doing AI for social good because of the costs. It costs money. But there are plenty of projects out there that do AI for social good. And I think there's people that know how to use natural language. There's people that know the challenges dementia people have Alzheimer's people. And the great things with hackathon, I mean, hackathons are amazing for being able to take something and produce something at the end of it. So I did an Alzheimer's hack for speech and natural language, and out of it came some great ideas. The challenge around those hackathons is usually they don't actually take the technology forward into actual live production. And I think there's one of our biggest challenges is to be able to say, yes, let's do some hackathons, but let's turn them into production as well. Because usually they just drop onto a stone cold floor and that's the end of that one.
What stops that?
I think it's usually the challenges, and it probably comes back to our question. It's the challenge of turning an idea into something that can be used at scale.
Yeah.
And that usually costs. But if we go back to what we talked about earlier about being able to do stuff and experiment in a way that's using the same technology that we would use to push into production, then you should just be able to add on to the platform you've already built to make it scalable and secure, GDPR compliant, and all those things. So it's about experimenting and playing in a way that has got that rich foundation to start with. So when I play based on, yes, I'm already building the vision of scalability and security, GDPR compliance into it, so I don't have to try and rework it in afterwards. Yeah,
it's these sort of inhibitors are things that are important to navigate around. I mean, would you say that that money is the predominant handbrake for this sort of stuff, or is it just the people having the confidence to take ideas and put them into production?
I think it's the second. I think it's about, I've got to have the vision that actually I can start a project. I can look at understanding where I can release value. I can do it rapidly and know that actually I can take that and then I can push into it in production easily without having to think about, oh, it's going to take me 2 years. And while that's happening, I can look at the next one. And if you get into that vision of actually, look, go and look at a project, look at releasing value, do it in a way that I know that I can deliver into production. Or, and this is very important to actually understand, that you're not going to get it right always. Innovation is about experimenting and playing, and you need to be able to be willing to fail.
Goes back to the Edison quotes, doesn't it? Yeah.
Indeed. If I'm not happy to say, look, I've just put £50,000 into this, or whatever it is, or X man days to look at this vision of what could be amazing, and then actually it turns out to be, oh no, that's no good. But it's
well,
better.
we saw that with Dyson recently in the electric car, didn't we? I mean, it's what, half a billion of investment in something that he's prepared to walk away from. But because he's prepared to walk away from it, there's so many different things that come out as good in that organisation. I think it's a fascinating sort of play that's led to huge success for that business. You know, the amount of prototypes that came out before the Hoover actually arrived. I think this is a really, really fascinating sort of area, and it goes back to what you've been saying all along about, you know, solving real problems and iterative improvement, right? And
I think it's not just about technology. I mean, the world is changing. COVID is making this world change. Think about fashion. Fashion always used to be about seasonality, producing, this is the season, having it on the catwalk, and then selling that. And COVID has completely thrown that to the wind. You can't go on the catwalks because it's not happening. But that vision of, look, I need to be able to have large stock and seasonality, through to I've got retail stores that no longer exist.
I think this is very, very interesting, because, you know, when you said about the high street, I think back to one of the things I've loved about this whole period is actually how more engaged we've got with I live in a village down in Surrey. It's got a parade of shops with a lot of great small, you know, the grocers, the butchers, the bakers, all those sort of places, and we've moved back to them in quite a big way, and I love the experience of it. You know, they're almost part of the family. I've lived in the same village for my whole life, and I remember as a kid, I loved going into that butcher's and the experience you got with them. They used to, you know, play around and joke with me. My kids now love going into that same butcher because they give them a 10p bag of Haribo and make a fuss of them when they come in there. And it's the same, that sort of experience, I think, is part of this. What's interesting is how they've evolved. So the grocers, the bakers, and the butchers will now interact with my mum and dad, who can't go out over that sort of period, over, you know, the internet, and they'll come and they'll deliver independently to them. And now, you know, my parents will be going, you know, will scale back from the supermarkets who they've worked from and engage more with these people who they've built the relationships with. And I think, you know, whilst we're seeing this, you know, rise of the Amazons and these, you know, these big superpowers on there, actually what we can also see alongside that is innovation and experience within real the S of the SME sector in terms of retail. And I think that would be I love that idea of the bookshop, and I love the idea of where it can go. And we're on a subject now that I'm very aware that I could be speaking about for ages and ages and ages. So I'm gonna and we haven't got the time for that, unfortunately, Tim. But maybe another show. What I want to do though is I think you're doing something that is so valuable at Spark, and I think there's stuff there which you can add real value to so many people who I talk to on a day-to-day basis. For those watching who are keen to do it, give us a quick précis of who you think you can help at the moment and the sort of problems that you can help them with, and how they get in touch with you, if you would.
So I think the people who can help, I mean, it's across the board. But it's those people that are looking to do, they know they need to release some value in the organization. Particularly from the Spark side, that user-centric. So anyone with users, I mean, that is basically anyone, because if you think everyone has a user, whether it's an internal or external user. But if there is a challenge that says, look, I need to do some transformation, I need to be able to move, I need to release value into the organization, then come and talk to us, whether it's small or big, because the big bit's not what we're going for. That's okay, the goal at the end. But as we talked about, it's those little iterative things to be able to work with you. But I think the challenge is as well, we work together with organizations, and it's about bringing you on that journey and upskilling you to be able to do that process at the same time. So come and talk to us, Tim Walpole or tim.walpole@spark.io. Be good to hear from you.
There you go. Well, I highly recommend it. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time today and giving us such a great insight into the ever-changing world of innovation and creative technology. Tim, utter pleasure. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you soon on another episode of Fintech Focus TV. Tim, thanks a lot.
Thanks very much.